Hello, in this video I will show you how this fragments group of properties works and how you can use them. So first property here is amount, and amount properly defines how many fragments you will get after object will be demolished. Mesh object type, or only it works only for mesh object type, or in case you use mesh root, then it will be applied to every fragment of the root. So in this case I have my amount set to 40. And if I restart play mode, you'll see I set demolition type to awake precache. So in awake, it will calculate exactly 40 meshes. So I can hit here demolish. And these are the fragments which it created. And as you can see, all fragments has pretty the same size. So by default, it creates uniform fragmentation pattern. All the fragments will be pretty the same size with small differences. So I can like initialize the shock, and this is how it looks like. So next property is amount variation. In this case, it was set to 0, so I got exactly 40 fragments. But in this case, I will set to 50, and this property measures in percents. So this 50% means that the final amount of fragments will be in range starting from 60 to 60 plus 50% from 60, which means 30. And so final amount will be in range from 60 to 90. And now let me start play mode. And again, the subject also use awake precache. So now you can see its value is 81. And this is how it looks like in dynamic. Also, as you can see, I set my fragments to inactive, so they do not fall down at the contact. And if I will, let's say, try again, you will see that there will be different amount of fragments. So now it's 84. And this time it's 65. So this is how variation property means. So if you have a lot of prefabs, you don't need to specify different amount of fragments for every prefab. You can just set here different variation. I mean the same variation, but amount of fragments for every prefab when it will be demolished will be different. So next property is close. Is def fate. This one. Def fate works only when you are going to demolish new fragments again. It doesn't work if you demolish object the first time. So this time I set the fate to 0.5, and it means that it will take this amount of original object amount of fragments, and when I will demolish this object, now I can see object was demolished, and here you can see that its amount is set to 10. So when this object will be demolished again, it will create 10 fragments. Again, because variation is 0, it uses exact value. And now we can see that a new fragment final fragments amount is 5. Again, because its def fate is 0.5. So amount value multiplies by def fate, and this value applies to new fragments. In this way, you can kind of decrease amount of fragments for every next generation of fragments, and a decreasing total amount of fragments in this way. Or you can set it to 1. Let's say set it to 1 here. And now every new fragment that also has 20 of fragments. So here this fragment, and you see it also has 20 here. And I can demolish it even more. And its fragment also has amount of 20. So if you want to get less fragments with every next def, then you can decrease this def fate and prevent and do not create like thousands of fragments in quickly. So next property is contact bias, this one, and it works again. It works only for runtime demolition. It allows you to create more tiny fragments at the contact point or where object was shooted. So in this case, I will set duration to 0, and let me move my rock somewhere, let's say here, at the edge of this box. And as you can see now, my contact bias set 0.95, which means there will be a lot of tiny fragments at the contact point. And now I will initialize rock. So you can see it created more small fragments here and big fragments far from the contact point. So in this way you can player which demolishing something, you will see that object was demolished exactly where it was collided, and in this way user will understand that object was demolished right in front of him. It was not prepared for demolition. There is no kind of pre-fragmented object. Uh, Object was demolished right now, right in front of him. So let's say if I will move my rock here, this edge, so now you can see there are more tiny fragments at this position. So this is how contact bias property works, and well, seed property, it simply defines fragmentation pattern. It's not a big deal, but if you for some reason don't like how your fragments distributed, you can change the seed. And like for now, I can let me play mode again, turn on play mode. So I will decrease amount of, let's say, 10, so you will see every fragment. So this is how my fragments looks like now. Let's take a look, let's say, at this fragment. You can see that if I will start play mode again and demolish the subject again, I will get exactly the same fragment here because my seed is the same. And if I want to get different pattern, I can change the seed. Then now I have different pattern. So again, in case you don't like how it looks like, you can change the pattern and to get different fragments. And the next property is use shatter checkbox. So as I showed, as you saw before, by default it uses a uniform Voronoi fragmentation pattern, but there's a shatter component which is used for editor fragmentations, and it provides several fragmentation types. There will be special tutorial about shatter component. But it provides regular Voronoi, which is used by rigid component. There's also splinters, slabs, radial, slices, tetrahedron based fragmentation type, and decomposition of existed elements. So if you want to, let's say, demolish your object to splinters, or you want to demolish your object using this radial, like it was a window or something else, then you can apply shatter component and turn on here use shatter. In this case, these shatter properties will be used for fragmentation. So for this object, I set shatter to splinters, and here where I set up it properties. So now I can start play mode, and again, this subject hasn't anything pre-fragmented or pre-cached. Everything will be created in runtime. So I can initialize my rock. And now you can see it was demolished to these splinters. Like long and sharp objects. So they looks like it was wooden splinters. And in this case, I set it to radial fragmentation type. Again, let me move my rock this corner. Now you can see that it was fragmented into radial fragments, and the center of this radial fragments is exactly where it was collided with this rock. So again, I can move my rock here. and now center of radial fragmentation at this place. So in this way you can create more detailed fragmentations or demolitions. So I guess that's it with this fragment group of properties. Thank you for watching.